In the pantheon of The Sopranos, the meeting between Tony Soprano and Schlommo Teitelman stands as a seminal moment in the series' examination of American subcultures. It is a scene that functions on multiple levels, as a plot mechanism to introduce the hotel business storyline, as a comedic juxtaposition of two insular ethnic communities, and, most profoundly, as a dark theological inquiry into the nature of violence and control.
Mr. Title.
My pleasure.
Please, have a seat.
Thank you.
While the scene lasts only a few minutes, it offers a dense text for analysis, revealing the specific mechanics of Tony Soprano's business acumen, the desperate hypocrisy of Schlommo Teitelman, and the prophetic wisdom of the younger Teitelman, who correctly identifies the spiritual danger of inviting a gangster into one's life. By breaking down the interactions, the setting, and the dialogue, we can see this encounter not just as a business deal, but as a collision of two old-world philosophies trying to survive in a modern, secular America. To understand the dynamics of this negotiation, one must first analyze the stage upon which it is set. The scene opens with a visual punchline, a low-angle shot of the pig statue atop Satriali's pork store, followed immediately by the arrival of the Hasidic men.
Silvio, you know.
Hi, sir.
Paulie.
Paulie, how are you?
This is not merely a sight gag, it is a territorial assertion. Satriali's is the heart of Tony's power. By forcing Schlommo Teitelman and his son to come to a pork store, Tony has already won the first round of the negotiation. He has forced them to violate their cultural comfort zone just to get a seat at the table. The setting emphasizes the profane nature of the transaction.
This is my son.
Does he have a name, or do we have to give him?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Hillel.
Shlomo is a man of the Torah, a man of laws and dietary restrictions, yet he is standing beneath a giant ceramic pig, seeking the help of a murderer. The environment itself screams that Schlommo is out of his depth, entering a world where his rules do not apply, but where he foolishly believes his money will protect him. Tony Soprano's conduct in this scene is a masterclass in predatory pragmatism. At this point in the series, Tony's still ascending, consolidating his power as the acting boss, and his demeanor here is one of relaxed, almost bored dominance. He sits outside, drinking an espresso, occupying the space with the ease of a feudal lord holding court. He does not rise to greet them with any great enthusiasm. He lets them come to him.
You know the story about my daughter and her husband?
Yeah, he knows.
Let's understand each other from the get-go here, okay? I'm in the carton and waste management business. I'm only here because I'm a friend of Silvio's, you're a friend of Silvio's.
His opening gambit is to strip away the pretense of social niceties. When Schlommo attempts to be polite, Tony cuts through the noise. This declaration serves two strategic purposes. First, it offers Tony plausible deniability. By framing the meeting as a favor between mutual friends rather than a criminal conspiracy, he maintains the thin veil of legitimacy he clings to throughout the series. Second, and more importantly, it establishes the power dynamic. Tony is doing them the favor. He is the resource. They are the petitioners. This creates a leverage vacuum that Tony will later fill with his financial demands. He positions himself not as a hungry criminal looking for work, but as a busy executive reluctantly making time for a charitable cause. It is a psychological play designed to make Schlommo feel indebted before a price is even named. However, Tony's genius lies in his ability to toggle between the cold capitalist and the empathetic patriarch. But the moment the conversation turns to compensation, the mask of the avenging angel drops, and the shark emerges. Schlommo expects to pay a fee, perhaps a cash envelope, for the service of intimidation. Tony, however, is playing a longer game.
I do understand you're being shaken down for 50% of your motel, is that right?
Correct.
All right, 25%. He wants 50, we get 25.
He doesn't want cash, he wants equity. 25%, he demands. This is the hallmark of the Soprano business model, parasitic integration. Tony understands that cash is finite, but a piece of a legitimate business like a motel, which can later be used for prostitution, skimming, or laundering, is an infinite resource. Schlommo's reaction to this demand reveals the depths of his own arrogance and naivety. Schlommo Teitelman is a fascinating study in cognitive dissonance. He is a man who strictly adheres to the laws of his faith, yet he is willing to engage a goon squad to enforce those laws. He wants the end result, his daughter's freedom and the retention of his property. But he wants to dissociate himself from the violence required to achieve it. He views Tony as a tool, a blunt instrument to be rented. He wants 50, we get 25, Tony says, framing it as a win for Schlommo. Schlommo saves 25% of his business by giving Tony 25%. Schlommo fails to understand that he is not in a commercial negotiation, he is in a sovereignty negotiation. He has invited a parallel government, the mafia, to intervene where the US government and the rabbinical courts have failed. In doing so, he has submitted to the tax rate of that parallel government.
What's your fucking problem, Al?
He looks at Tony and sees a goy, a brute, someone beneath him socially and spiritually. He believes his intellect and his piety place him above the gangsters. This classist and religious arrogance blinds him to the fact that Tony is significantly more dangerous and more intelligent than he assumes. Schlommo thinks he is hiring a servant. He is actually inviting a conqueror into his home. The moral center of the scene, and the only character who truly understands the gravity of the transaction, is Schlommo's son.
I don't understand.
That's because I'm not talking to you.
Du hast beschafft der golem hier.
Throughout the meeting, the son is quiet, observing the dynamic with a growing sense of dread. While Schlommo is focused on the economics and the immediate problem of the son-in-law, the son is focused on the metaphysical implications. When the negotiation hits a snag, the son speaks the most important lines of the episode, referencing the golem.
Punkt wie de raaf in de meise. Is op het atten dynamische stik.
In Jewish folklore, the golem was a creature made of clay, brought to life by a rabbi to protect the Jewish community from persecution. However, the golem has no soul, it is pure force. Eventually, it becomes uncontrollable, rampaging, and threatening the very people it was built to save. The son recognizes that Tony Soprano is the golem. He is a soulless force of violence. Schlommo believes he can control Tony with money and agreements, just as the rabbi believed he could control the golem with magic. The son realizes that once you unleash a force like Tony, you cannot simply put it back in the box. The violence will spill over. By inviting Tony into their dispute, they are introducing a virus into their community that will inevitably infect them. The son's fear is palpable. He is not just afraid of losing money, he is afraid of the spiritual contamination that comes from associating with these men. The reaction of the mobsters to this golem comment highlights the vast cultural chasm between the two groups.
And you will never get them out.
That's a commercial, isn't it?
Silvio's role in the scene is subtle but critical. He is the bridge. He is the one who knows Schlommo, likely through some other peripheral business dealing or neighborhood proximity. He acts as the guarantor of the meeting, the calm presence that allows the two volatile leaders to speak. He says very little, but his presence signals that this is official business. He is the corporate face of the organization, the one who nods and facilitates. Paulie, on the other hand, represents the latent threat. He stands with his arms crossed, his face a mask of disdainful boredom. He doesn't need to speak to be effective, his reputation and his physical demeanor do the work. Paulie serves as a reminder of what the alternative is. If Schlommo doesn't deal with Tony the businessman, he will have to deal with Paulie the enforcer. Paulie's ignorance of the golem remark also serves to isolate the Tiedelmans further. It emphasizes that there is no shared language here. There is no mutual understanding. There is only the transaction. The mobsters don't care about the folklore or the moral implications. They only care about the points, the percentage.
Give me what I want, Mr. Soprano.
It's done.
The conclusion of the scene, the handshake, is heavy with irony. Schlommo agrees to the deal, driven by his anger at his son-in-law and his greed to protect his assets. He ignores his son's warning. He shakes Tony's hand, sealing a pact that will lead to his eventual humiliation. By the end of the episode, Schlommo will try to renege on the deal, thinking he can use the mafia to scare his son-in-law and then refuse to pay the 25%. This leads to the inevitable golem moment where Tony's crew turns on Schlommo, threatening him with the same violence they promised to inflict on the son-in-law. The scene serves as a microcosm of Tony's entire existence. He is a man who thrives on the failures of legitimate systems. The Tiedelmans come to him because the civil courts take too long and the rabbinical courts lack teeth. Tony provides efficiency. He provides a shortcut. But the cost of that shortcut is always higher than the sticker price. Tony conducts business by finding people who are trapped by debt, trapped by pride, or trapped by religious obligation, and offering them a trapdoor that leads only further down into his world. Furthermore, the scene critiques the concept of tribalism. Both the Hasidim and the Italians in this scene view themselves as separate from mainstream America, bound by their own ancient codes of honor and law. Schlommo appeals to Tony's sense of traditional values, assuming that because they are both men of the old school, they share morality. But the scene ruthlessly exposes this as a fallacy, that Tony has no values other than accumulation and survival. He creates a temporary alliance with Schlommo not out of tribal solidarity, but out of predatory instinct. The old world connection is just a sales pitch. In analyzing Tony's business conduct specifically, we see that he's remarkably flexible. He listens. He lets the client talk. He assesses the emotional state of the mark. But behind the eyes, he is doing the math. He is calculating the risk to reward ratio. The risk is low a domestic dispute, unlikely to bring police heat, and the reward is high 25% of a functioning motel. It is a perfect Soprano deal. He invests nothing but a few hours of intimidation outsourced to his crew and gains a permanent asset. The tragedy of the scene belongs to Schlommo. He believes he is the protagonist of his own story, a righteous man saving his daughter. In reality, he is just a minor character in Tony Soprano's ledger. He sells his soul to save a percentage of a motel, failing to realize that in Tony's world, everything is negotiable, and everyone eventually pays. The golem, once summoned, never simply goes away. It stays, it eats, and it eventually destroys the village that built it. The younger titleman walks away from the table knowing this truth, while Schlommo and Tony shake hands, two men deluding themselves that this is just business, when in fact, it is a moral catastrophe in motion.